When the noise of the night fades away and you gaze at the shifting shadows outside the window, do you ever feel an indescribable helplessness, as if you are but a leaf adrift in a raging storm, powerless to steer your own way? Amid the Sengoku era of Japan, a turbulent age forged from blood, betrayal, and lust for power, there lived a distinguished strategist whose life became an eternal legend. He never chased fame or glory, yet fate cast him right into the eye of the fiercest power struggles. To the world, he was hailed as the Kongming of his time, a genius who seized the impregnable Inabayama castle with merely 16 men. Both Oda Nobunaga and Toyotomi Hideyoshi even visited him repeatedly, eager to entrust their grand ambitions to his wisdom. Yet behind closed doors, he lived like a reclusive practitioner, dwelling deep in remote mountains and seeing through the vanity of power in solitude. Tonight, let us sit by the flickering fire and follow this gentle tale to discover the true story of Takenaka Hanbei. This is a story of inner peace and defiance against fate, of a wise man who upheld his dignity and repaid kindness with his very life. People know well how he devised flawless battle strategies despite his frail, sickly frame. They also remember how, gravely ill ahead of the Battle of Miki, he refused to return to Kyoto for treatment, choosing to breathe his last on the battlefield. Few realize, however, that this iconic figure of genius and restraint was in truth a quiet, introspective soul who spent most of his life in seclusion. Now relax your body and calm your breath. Let us journey back to that pivotal moment when destiny frayed and a silent storm began to gather. It was the year 1564. A bitter cold hung over Mino province in the depth of winter. The massive gray walls of Inabayama Castle loomed in the dreary twilight, like a colossal ice sculpture devoid of life. On that night, 20-year-old Takenaka Hanbei sat alone in a dim side hall deep inside the fortress. Snowflakes filled the sky, painting the heavens a pale, murky white. His face bore an air of refined composure, revealing no trace of emotion. His lord Saito Tatsuoki caroused day and night with dissolute retainers in the inner quarters, turning a blind eye to Oda Nobunaga's relentless advance beyond the castle walls. A man of uncompromising principles when it came to military tactics and human nature, Hanbei pleaded earnestly time and again, only to be met with arrogant mockery. Worse still, some of the lord's favorites even humiliated him openly in the courtyard. The Sengoku period was a brutal era where old order crumbled and vassals frequently overthrew their masters. As a low-ranking samurai of humble background and delicate build, his dignity meant nothing to those in power. Disaster soon drew near. Plagued by his lord's incompetence, Mino province stood on the brink of collapse, its people suffering amid hunger and war. The weight of his frail body, the cries of the common folk and the looming threat of national ruin pressed heavily upon his shoulders. Alone behind closed doors, he listened to the wind and snow beating against the paper windows. Overwhelmed by grief and indignation, he was caught in an agonizing inner struggle. Fate presented him with two harsh choices: to perish as a loyal follower of a foolish ruler, or to shake the age with his peerless wit. Staring at his reflection in the mirror, pale from prolonged stress yet still graceful of feature, he neatly adjusted his faded indigo karajinu. He shed no tears and yielded to no faction. With gentle yet unshakable resolve, he braced himself for what lay ahead. He knew conventional ways could no longer save this broken world. At this darkest hour, he would stage an unprecedented gamble, carving out a path for true dignity in a corrupt age. Before dawn broke on a regular February morning in 1564, Takenaka Hanbei set in motion the legendary feat that would echo through history, seizing the castle with just 16 men. Claiming he was going to visit his ailing father-in-law, he escorted a cart loaded with herbs and hidden weapons, accompanied by 15 trusted followers. They moved slowly through the heavily guarded gates of the supposedly impenetrable stronghold, looking like ordinary travelers shivering against the cold. When the cart stopped before the lord's chambers, Hanbei drew his trusted katana. Its blade glinted coldly in the pale daylight. In just 2 hours, these 16 men, relying on their intimate knowledge of the castle layout and sharp insight into human nature, drove Saito Tatsuoki from his bed and took control of this strategically vital fortress. The whole of Japan was stunned. Oda Nobunaga, amazed by his feat, immediately sent envoys with a tempting offer: half of Mino province and the position of chief strategist. It was a formidable test of will. Many gifted minds had lost their original integrity amid such temptations, reduced to servants of wealth and territory. But beneath his frail, refined appearance, Hanbei had a will as firm as ice. He understood clearly that accepting the reward would turn his noble act of removing a tyrant and protecting the people into a shameless power grab. In this great trial against worldly ambition, he staked his own future and rejected the immense benefits laid before him. 6 months later, after Saito Tatsuoki wept and repented his wrongdoings, Hanbei left without a single piece of gold or an inch of land. On a rainy night, he departed quietly and alone. He returned the castle intact to its lord, put on simple rough clothes, and retreated deep into the remote mountains of Iwate. There he embarked on years of quiet spiritual practice. During those years away from the public eye, Takenaka Hanbei became a quiet legend. Life in his mountain hermitage was a long, silent journey of self-reflection. Many mistakenly assumed a strategist capable of such brilliant schemes must have lived a dramatic, unrestrained life. The truth was far different. His days in seclusion were plain, even monotonous, marked by rigorous self-discipline. He had no tangled romances or worldly entanglements. While still young, he resolved not to let trivial mortal affairs distract him from the study of military strategy and the ways of heaven. His sharp rationality and relentless pursuit of purity created a poignant paradox in his life. He saw through the desires, jealousy, greed, and betrayal running rampant in the turbulent age precisely because he never indulged in them himself. Like a detached sage, he observed human nature with calm clarity, translating his observations into ingenious strategies on scrolls. Later, moved by Toyotomi Hideyoshi's sincere repeated invitations, he chose to serve him rather than claim territory for himself. Confined to his military tent late into the night, he endured the torment of a serious lung disease. Years of writing and exposure to war took their toll on his body. Severe coughing often brought on fevers, and every plan he drafted was accompanied by piercing chest pain and cold sweats. Still, he remained steadfast, working diligently with nothing more than brush and paper. He did not merely endure loneliness, he embraced it, striving to build an enduring model of honor for his lord's grand dream of unifying the realm. It was early summer in 1579. The air grew thick and sultry beneath the walls of Miki Castle in Harima Province. Months of siege had pushed both sides to their limits. Inside the Oda army's command tent, filled with a faint scent of medicinal herbs, 35-year-old Takenaka Hanbei leaned weakly in a wooden chair worn smooth by years of use. His hands trembled too much to hold even a light writing brush. Tuberculosis gnawed relentlessly at his body. Every violent cough left bright red bloodstains on white silk cloth. Deeply distressed, Toyotomi Hideyoshi tearfully urged him to travel to the finest sanatorium in Kyoto to recover. He even promised Hanbei half the realm if only he would survive. Power and wealth sought to buy the last days of this great mind. To politicians, his wisdom was an invaluable tool for unifying the country and reshaping territories, one that could not be wasted away in a cold military tent. This was a clash between an artist's spirit and the machinery of gain. Many talented men had surrendered their principles to such persuasion. Yet behind his sickly look and gentle smile lay an unyielding heart. Hanbei knew that fleeing the battlefield to prolong his life would render his lifelong pursuit of loyalty and dignity meaningless. In this final struggle between his mortal body and destiny, he made a choice that astonished the entire realm, a decision steeped in the chivalric ideals of old. He turned down the carriage sent to take him to Kyoto and set aside the precious medicines. Peering over his worn reading glasses, he shook his head softly at Hideyoshi and spoke his final resolve: to die on the battlefield is a samurai's greatest wish. On a windless, cool dawn of June 13, 1579, with the complete battle plans for Miki Castle laid out before him, Takenaka Hanbei closed his eyes peacefully as the last candle flickered out. He left no will regarding lands or titles, no worldly regrets. With a dignified passing, he etched an image of pure nobility amid the darkness of the Sengoku period. When prosperity fades and the dust of time settles over the bustling modern world, looking back on Takenaka Hanbei's life, we may find the answer to the question of retreat and tragedy raised at the beginning. What legacy did this strategist, misunderstood and deified for centuries, leave behind? Was it the famous tactic of seizing the castle with 16 men, or the absolute freedom he won over worldly desires and mortal frailty? His greatest gift to later generations is the ability to stay disciplined and serene, even after seeing the harshness of fame and life itself. On this quiet night by the dim fire, as we recall his slender figure and resolute gaze, a man who sought light amid illness and solitude, the anxiety over aging and loss fades into lasting peace. Through 35 years of unwavering perseverance and restraint, he faced life's inevitable losses and oblivion for us. He teaches us to meet hardships with grace and dignity. The memory of those busy summers and quiet autumns lives on in every heart. If you hold fast to purity and tranquility even in the darkest times, you will never be defeated by the world. Night has fully fallen, and the city has sunk into deep slumber. After hearing Hanbei's story, may you relax your furrowed brows and lay your weary body down in warm bedding. Let go of worries for tomorrow and regrets of the past, and may they turn into gentle dreams tonight. Close your eyes, and drift into peaceful sleep as the last glow of light fades away. Good night.